Ladies and gentlemen, what's poppin' with you? It's your boy Sim. We got Savvy right here in the building. And Savvy, we talked
What's
about
up?
Magic 2 last night. We did an initial album review, right? And I've
Hmm.
been listening to it all day. And we're not going deep into a full review right now, but just I have one thought
Okay.
about
Sure.
what is the weakest part of this album. Because I'm not gonna lie to
Ooh.
you, it's there's a couple of songs that I was wishy-washy on last night that have grown on me.
Yeah.
And shout out to Antoine 1486 in the chat and anybody else who's jumped in. Shout out to you as well. So, but a couple of things have grown on me. A couple of songs have grown on me, right? Black Magic has definitely grown on me. I
Nice.
think Urban Magic Johnson has grown on me. I'm still feeling
Okay.
out can't think of it now.
Oh, Bokeem Woodbine.
Okay, Woodbine. I'm still feeling that out a little bit, but there's some stuff that's definitely grown on me. But the biggest weakness, Savvy, is something that Nas has dealt with his entire career. It's been a weakness of Nas his entire career, and it has resurfaced on Magic 2,
Oh Lord, what are you gonna say, man?
right? It was a weakness on It Was Written. It was a weakness on Stillmatic. It was a weakness on Godson. Now it's a weakness on Magic 2. What you think I'm talking about?
Is it the flows? It can't be the flows.
No.
I don't know, Sim, because
No.
it's tough to tell what your Nas critiques are. You feel me? Because you are a very insightful Nas listener. It's not nothing typical usually
Yeah.
with you.
I am. You know what it is?
Yeah.
You know what it
What
is? The same thing with It Was Written. It wasn't Illmatic. The same with Stillmatic. It wasn't Illmatic. Godson, it wasn't Illmatic. Magic 2 is not Magic. It's not KD2. It's not KD3. And I think that's the biggest weakness of this album because there's no whack song on this album, right? There's no whack song that you're like, just throw it away, it's garbage.
Right.
But the songs are good, solid.
Yes.
Some
Yeah.
really nice highlights on the album. You know what I mean? Some
I
really,
agree.
really dope songs. But it struggles to surpass KD3 or KD2 or Magic. And I think that's the biggest weakness of the album. It struggles to surpass those because it's hard to, and it's a very, very, very good album, but it's hard to surpass those three albums. And I think that might be the biggest weakness of this album.
So you're saying when Nas knocks an album out the park, he has a hard time following it up with something that can live up to or exceed that same quality.
I mean,
that's what it sounds like to me.
It's I don't know. I don't want to say that he struggles with it. I'm just saying in the fans' eyes, he dropped King's Disease. Right? Everybody's like, oh wow, Nas came back, dope album, boom, boom, boom. King's Disease 2 surpasses it.
Yes.
And then Magic drops. And it surpasses King's Disease 2 in a lot of people's eyes. And then KD3 drops. And it surpasses Magic.
Crown jewel of the series.
And so now, what do you think people are thinking? Oh, wait a minute. They dropping Magic 2. The expectation is that it's going to surpass KD3. Right? That it's going to surpass KD3. And I don't know if it's fair or not fair, right? Because Nas is straight up competing with himself, right? And I'm not even trying to compare this to Illmatic or Stillmatic or any of those. I'm just staying within the confounds of Nas and Hit-Boy. And I think it's a dope album. And ladies and gentlemen, I see people like getting mad at me in the chat, right? I'm not saying this as a way to downplay the album. What I'm saying is if there's a weakness, that's it, is that it's not those albums. You know what I'm saying? And the expectation of, I think, most people is that it's going to surpass those albums. And I don't know if it has any highlights as high as, you know, some of those albums. You know what I mean?
Do you think?
Go ahead.
Do you think he should have named it something different? Not
Yes.
Magic 2?
I think that could have been, you know, I mean, I like it for what it is. And there's songs that I didn't like last night, or I don't want to say didn't like that. I got to hear it again. And they've grown on me. You know what I'm saying? Like that Black Magic. I'm like, yo, this song is crazy. It's grown on me. You know what I'm saying? And as I'm diving deeper into each song, they're growing on me still. But I think that's probably, and he's dealt with that his entire career because of Illmatic. You know what I mean? And I see people in chat saying, well, I've never compared this album to that album. I think it's natural though. You can't help you. For me, when I listen to one album, I want to hear that quality again. You know what I'm saying? And I naturally compare it. It doesn't mean I don't like the album. You know, I naturally look at it and say, all right, well, how's it compared to Illmatic? Or, you know, or whatever it was, whatever I want to compare it to. You know what I mean? I think that's how, you know, and it may not be fair, but as a fan, that's what we do. Maybe not everybody, but that's what we do.
That's true.
And when you name it Magic, when you name it Magic, it's naturally going to be compared to Magic 1. You know what I mean? I think a nice name would have been Abracadabra.
Hey.
Stays with the Magic theme.
True.
You know what I'm saying? But for all intents and purposes, man, it's a dope album, and I think it's, every song has kind of grown on me, really grown on me since last night.
Do you want to know what my weakness for this album is?
What's that?
This album might cause me to get a serious speeding ticket. Because when I ride around in my car and motion comes on, suddenly my foot gets a little bit heavier on that pedal. Okay? I was driving to work this morning, Sim. I was wilding on the man, and the traffic was light. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Oh my God, there's so much space." I had to tell myself, "Hey, yo, slow down for a second." Not because I wanted to be safe, but because I didn't have enough time left in my commute to get through the rest of the album.
Yeah.
Before I got to work, I'm like, you know what? I drove a little bit too fast during motion. I'm ahead of schedule now. I'm not gonna be able to get through the rest of this album before I gotta get back to work. That's my weakness for this album.
Man, I've been, because I'm building a website for somebody, right?
Yeah.
So I've been sitting and listening to it all day long, digesting it and dissecting it all day long. I'm really getting ready for this full album review. You know what I mean? I just been sitting with it all day long. I had to take my mother to the store. I'm listening to it. I said, okay. When she was getting back in the car, Black Magic was getting ready to come on. All right?
Okay.
So I'm like, let me see what she does. Because a lot of times I compare, you know, if my mother starts bopping to it, now mind you, my mother is 67 years old. My mother starts bopping to it, I know, all right, you know what? This can cross generations. We got something. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
First thing she did is start bopping. I seen the foot start tapping. I say, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
That's
Nas got him one.
Something's going on with it. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah,
that's
something's going on with it.
But Mama likes the album. That's how you know it's real, man.
Exactly.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened to me today was like, man, going back to that Black Magic, man, as soon as I got into work and I was on my lunch break, I had my headphones. I went into the old 3-6 catalog, and it just took me back. And I'm like, thank you, Nas. Like, I'm so glad that some of this essence has made it into your soundscape, because I feel like that's just something that's current right now, that's in the energy, and I love Nas being able to bring his energy to it. Nas Magic 2, still bumping, bangs in the whip, and I catch myself finding any random errand or chore that I gotta run to get my car. Okay, I'll do it. I'm doing favors for people. Hey, do you need me to go pick up something at the store? All right,
Can't wait to get in the car.
I'm gonna go bump this Magic 2 in the whip.
Can't wait to get in the car, right?
Can't wait to get in the whip.
Yeah.
Spending extra time in the whip for no reason.
Let me go on a whole bunch of store runs, right?
Yeah. And then go play store run after that.
Exactly. Antoine said the first Magic came out in the winter and had a crispiness to it. This one is for the summer riding sound of a vibe. No doubt about it.
That's very true.
No doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, they're pushing the limits. You know what I mean? Trying not to stay in the same lane, pushing those limits. Got to respect it. Antoine said, listening to Slow It Down on my drive home today. Great weather. It was a whole moment.
Beautiful.
Jadorian said it has crazy replay value.
Beautiful.
You know?
Yes, I agree.
You know, Grady gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Very good album with replay value. You know what I mean? Grady said hitting Nas deliberately made vibey songs, so it stands on its own. Triborough said Nas, to his own fault, didn't celebrate other classics besides Illmatic, so the fans will always feel that way. You know what? I agree, too. You know what I mean? You know, there wasn't a lot of celebration of any of his other joints, and Nas even alluded to it a couple of years ago when he said, I'm done celebrating Illmatic. Like, I've been there, done that. I'm done celebrating it, you know, and, you know, started wanting to highlight some of his other stuff. I, for one, want to do an album review. As a matter of fact, we talked last night, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to do a 50 for 50, right? 50 album reviews for 50 years of hip-hop. So, you know, yeah, we're going to have to do 1 or 2 a week, but, you know, that's the plan. One of them that I want to do personally, whether it's part of this 50 for 50 or not, is I want to go back and review Nostradamus.
That would be a great episode.
I want to go back and review that. You know what I mean?
That would be a great episode.
Because, you know, that's, you know, widely considered his worst album. I probably consider it his worst album, but I like it. I like Nostradamus.
There's some cuts on there.
Yeah,
there's some cuts
I
on
like
there.
Nostradamus.
You know, it's when you do a double album, there's so much room for error. Okay, that like the real way I assess it is I pick out. I'm like, okay, how many times on here is there a great moment? And there's some really great moments on there to where if this was condensed to a single disc album, would it be considered up there with some of the best material? And I think that when we go back and revisit it, we're gonna be surprised with our own impressions of it.
Yeah. I mean, you know. People,
and speaking of his celebration of his own albums, you know, I think after that 20-year anniversary Illmatic thing, it was done. I got the anniversary edition of It Was Written.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did a Lost Tapes vinyl re-release that included a 7-inch disc that was the OG demo mix of Represent. And I got that too, and so I think that we're starting to see him already start to go to his other back catalog albums and start to celebrate those and like repackage those and give them their own shine. And it's just a beautiful time to be a Nas fan. Period.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a great time to be a Nas fan. Reggie, this is a great question. Is there any former Nas album you would like to see reworked over some Hit-Boy beats? That's a great question. That's a great question.
Lost Tapes too.
I'd like to see Nasir remixed or redone with Hit-Boy beats.
Wow.
Because somebody said it in the chat last night. That was like, or I think it was my man who called up. That was like a precursor. That was like a prequel to what we got from Hit-Boy and Nas. You know what I mean? I think that could work.
Yeah.
Because
I would love to hear that.
Somewhere in there was, I thought, I mean, I didn't think it was, especially when I go back and listen to it, that it was that bad of an album. I see Triborough said he thinks it's worse than Nostradamus. I thought somewhere in there with the production done or completed, there was a good album. You know what I mean?
Yo, listen, it would be fantastic to hear what Hit-Boy makes to put the vocals to Adam and Eve on. Because Adam and Eve, to me, since the album came out, even though I felt disappointed by Kanye's contribution to it in the moment, that Adam and Eve track hit the first time.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I would be eager to hear those Adam and Eve Nas vocals over a Hit-Boy produced track and see what Hit-Boy can do with it. Because if Hit-Boy can make that song sound better than Kanye West did, we gotta have a serious conversation about Hit-Boy's talent.
And then you rehash the whole thing with Hit-Boy and Kanye too, right? Because they kind of had a little something going on. Whatever it was. I never really got into the details of it, but they had something happening.
Are you putting me on, Sim?
Yeah, they had a little beef or something going on. Hit-Boy and
I knew
Kanye.
about the issue that he had with 50, which is fascinating. Why? Because 50 Cent is featured on this album. But if any Hit-Boy fan who pays attention remembers the Grind of My Whole Life beat and how that was one of the illest beats that came out when it came out. And it wound up being on a G-Unit mixtape track when he was doing the whole thing with Kid and all them. And I don't think there was clear communication on the usage of that beat. And it led to a little bit of a divide and some static. So in hindsight, to see 50 Cent on this album, who upon replay of the album this morning, I like that verse a lot better than I did last night. I have to give it to him.
I agree.
Still wish it was longer, but I'm glad to see that Hit-Boy and Fifth can work together and put that behind them. Yeah. So now you're telling me about, I'm gonna have to go back down into the archives and do some research on that one.
Yeah. Do some research on it. I don't know what it was all about, but they had a little something going on. But anyway, that's what I think the biggest weakness of this album really is. And it has nothing to do with the music itself. It's whether or not I'm making a comparison or not, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be compared to the rest of Hit-Boy and Nas's music together. It's going to be compared. You know what I mean? We did it last night. And every person that reviews the album is going to compare it to the other four. You know what I mean? And that's probably going to be the biggest weakness of the album is that, it's not going to top those, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it does stand alone as what it is. You know what I mean? Stands in its own light. And it's still a dope album.
I'm grateful for every single thing that they give us.
It's a dope album.
But I'm comparing. This is hip hop. Okay.
Right. Now,
it's still hip hop.
Last question before we go on. We had a couple of small topics we wanted to get into. Last question before we get into some of these other things. We saw somebody say it in the chat last night before we got off, but we didn't mention it on the stream. And then I've seen it with some other people on Twitter, this, that, and the third. Do you think, are you ready for Nas to work with somebody else besides Hit-Boy?
Am I ready for it? I'm ready for anything Nas does. Do I demand it? Not necessarily, no. I don't care. I don't care if Hit-Boy is the last producer he ever works with and they do 10 albums.
Okay.
And that's the only guy he ever wants to get produced by ever again. But am I going to shy away from a Nas and Q-Tip produced joint? Of course not. Am I going to shy away from a Pete Rock produced joint? Of course not. You know, but
I don't know. Nas and Pete Rock ain't exactly getting along right now.
Yeah, I remember that line.
They're not getting along right now, you know, because of the whole thing with the world is yours and all of that. You know, Pete Rock saying he, you know, not getting paid and they're not really getting them, but maybe they could patch it up and something can happen.
That's such a shame.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
Alchemist.
But all in all,
I mean, Tri Burrows, Alchemist, Apollo Brown, Primo. Yes. As a matter of fact,
Alchemist,
there was a tweet today. Somebody today sent out a tweet to Westside Gun, said, I would love to see what, well, you know, he didn't send it to him, but, you know, tagged him in and said, I would love to see Westside Gun curate Nas's next album. Right? Westside Gun said, Nas, Raekwon, Ghostface. He named somebody else. He was like, I want to do all of them. You know what I'm saying? And he said, I would, and I'd give them the sound that they supposed to have. That's what he said. I don't think he was trying to diss anybody. I think he was just saying, and you know, I'd give them the sound they're supposed to have.
It's gonna be proper. And you know what? I believe him. Westside Gun has not lied about his curation and what he's gonna deliver yet. I believe him. I think if somebody can bring the dream collabs out that we have always wanted to get from Nas and some of our hip hop heroes that were mentioned, I think Westside Gun is the guy to do it because he's already done it before for other people.
Yeah,
he got Slick Rick back on track.
Right. Yeah. I would love to see Nas. I would love to see Nas work with Griselda. I'm waiting for that.
Nas and Conway. I was talking about this earlier in the Twitter group chat. I was saying a dream collab of mine: Nas, Conway, Kendrick. Nas, Conway, Kendrick. Them three on the track. My goodness, hold on to something. It's gonna shake pavement. That's my dream collab.
Okay. If we get Kendrick is doing it.
If it doesn't happen, it's probably because Kendrick just didn't feel like doing it.
Because you know, he's moody that way.
Exactly.
Kind of like Nas was back in the Nas was like that too back in the day though.
Exactly. Moody. And they have a lot in common, those two, which is why I want to see them rap together. But if we just get Nas and Conway, it's still Christmas to me.
Yeah. You know. All right. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is just some more thoughts from my second day of listening to the album. Let's move on to some other topics. And I hate getting into this topic, but I guess we, you know, kind of got to Gillie Da Kid's son, Young Cheese, killed in Philadelphia. You know what I mean?
R.I.P., man.
It's tough. You know, the son of famous local rapper turned podcaster Gillie Da Kid was killed in a triple shooting in the city's only section Thursday night. Shooting happened just before 8:30 p.m. near the intersection of Massacre Street and Nedro Avenue. When the police got there, they found two shooting victims about a block away, including 25-year-old Devin Spady, that is Young Cheese, who had been shot in the back. They took those two to Einstein Medical Center where Spady was pronounced dead. Multiple people on the scene told police that the 25-year-old victim was Gillie Da Kids' son.
25.
It's tough, man. I can't imagine losing a child like that. So I obviously want to, send my condolences out to,
Condolences to
Gillie
and
the
the
Kid
whole
and his
family,
family, the whole family, and
all the
everything.
loved ones.
Um,
Man,
I can't imagine it.
first of
You know what I
all,
mean? I can't imagine it. I have 2 children. I have 3 grandchildren. You know what I mean? I can't imagine it.
oh, that's fire. I didn't know you had grandchildren, dude.
Grandchildren.
That's
My son started. I started early. My son started early and hasn't stopped. All right.
that's a
So
blessing.
my latest grandson. I don't know if that's. I guess I don't know if you want to say latest or what, but he was born in February. You know what I mean? My son's 20.
Congrats, man.
My son's 28. Got 3 of them already. 28 years old. He's got 3 of them. He's knocking them out the box.
A year younger than me, and he already got 300% more kids than I do.
He's knocking them out the box, Sabby. He's knocking them out the box. You know what I mean? He's knocking them
Hey,
out.
yo, first of all, salute to your son. That's a blessing. But just on the topic of young cheese, man, I'm 29 years old. When I was 25, I know what my mind frame was and where I was at in life. I can't imagine it having ended at that point in time. And I just, I remember when Wallow got out of prison. I remember when the podcast was before they were on Barstool. I remember then them going to Barstool and all the success and seeing Gillie really come out of his shell and start to just embrace the joy and the fun and the success and it was just such a different side to Gillie that I hadn't even seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And to have your progeny cut down at a time like this, at such a young age, in that manner, like that news ripped my heart out when I saw it. It deflated me, bro.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to be a father myself. I can't imagine finally being able to achieve the task of having a child of my own, raising him through childhood, adolescence, into his own young adulthood, all of the time and knowledge and love invested, and then to lose a seed like that. Once again, I want to offer my condolences. And we just need all the violence to just chill out and stop for
serious business. For real.
I don't know what it was about. I don't know the politics behind it. I'm not going to pretend to. I just know that we ain't doing well as a people right now. And something's got to change because, I mean, the kid had a bright future ahead of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and look, and there were 2 others in the shooting. A 28-year-old man.
To those families as well. I'm sorry, go on.
28-year-old man and a 31-year-old man, still young.
Still young, bro.
Right, but they're both stable. All right, they're both stable. So the only one who got killed is Young Cheese.
Shot in the back, man.
Right.
Like, it's not.
Now, police are still trying to track down who shot the 3 men and why. So right now, there's I don't think there's a lot of info as to why.
I just hope that Gillie is somewhere surrounded by the support system that he needs to carry him through this like unimaginable horror of a living nightmare that he's going through.
Yeah.
And it makes me really think about just every single time, every single decision, every single risk that you might not even know that you're taking the risk when you're taking the risk. Sometimes you're just going about your business, and society and the climate is in such a way that, gun violence is just never more than just one bad interaction away. And I hope that he could just find a way to recover from it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He hasn't spoken. I'm sure sooner or later he'll speak to the public. you know. But right now, as he should, taking time, and I'm just gonna be, with my people, with my family, and we're gonna deal with it. D Cooler said Philly is just as bad as Chicago. I mean, I'm not far from Philly. You know what I mean? I'm 2 hours from Philly. And yeah, Philly is. My niece lives in Philly, or outside of Philly, just outside of Philly, in Chester, PA is rough. You know what I mean? And I mean that's just 10 minutes from Philly. It's not a joke. Philly's not a joke. It's rough. I mean, but it's here's the thing: it's like this all over the country, in big cities, in small cities, even in suburbs now.
Yeah.
It's all over the place, and it's this whole, it's this culture of violence that we have in this country.
It's a very anemic dynamic that's going on. It's like a race to the bottom. Everybody, it's not even about getting money and making it out no more. It's about proving that you're the next hardest core, dangerous, violent killer type person, getting caught, getting your stripes because you went into prison, didn't snitch and got out. Like,
yeah,
it's a race to the bottom culturally right now, and I hope that
it's crazy.
That people just find some healing in a peace, and
I literally
and we can
look
think
at.
twice.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Just look at videos, things that people put out, and this is one guy puts out this. He puts out these videos, and it's like the difference of between people from D.C. and PG County, right? And one of the biggest jokes that he uses is people in PG County living in houses, while people in D.C. live in the projects, and da 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 da, right? Yeah. And literally, people are on there. People in D.C. are like laughing. People who are from D.C. kind of laughing at the people in PG County who live in houses, and they're like, "You're really laughing at me because I live in a house?" You know what I'm saying? Like you're saying this race to the bottom thing. You're laughing at me because my family owns a house? Like,
it's okay to have things
really?
and not come from nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
what I mean?
it's okay to not have to hustle or get your stripes or come out of a gutter. Sometimes I feel like the messages in our media and culture get misconstrued. People talk about their humble beginnings as a way of reflecting on how far they've come to get away from that.
Right.
As opposed to, glorifying it and saying that was some real dope, ill shit that they were doing that everybody should do as a rite of passage. It's not the case.
It's not the case. And you notice that their kids are not living in those situations.
Exactly.
Right? They said, no, my kid's not going to be raised like this.
The good parents are doing that. Unfortunately, we have a lot of unfit parents out here.
That's true.
And that's something that I feel.
But I'm talking about when you're talking about like artists and stuff like that, talking about, where I came from and where I am, their kids not being raised back there unless the artists don't have no money, or they might have a couple of kids out there being raised out there that they just haven't acknowledged yet or something like that. You know what I mean? But still, people can't be afraid to be okay to live good.
I just want to see us smarten up. I just want to see us smarten up as a people, man. Just because we have enough enemies as it is.
For real, enough enemies. We don't need to take out. We don't need to take each other out.
And they're not hiding one bit.
Word. It's crazy because Gillie Da Kid had just maybe a week ago posted on his IG about Philadelphia, saying, and he was the post was he was saying something like, I remember when people in Philly was just trying to get money and have a good time and stay out of trouble, stay away from trouble. Now we going out looking for it. He was saying like, Philly, we gotta, think about what you're doing. Go out and get your money, but be easy. You know what I'm saying? Because there had been some shootings or whatever, and he just spoke about it, and then boom. It's tough, man. It's crazy, but rest in peace to his son. My condolences to him and his family, and I hope the best for Gillie. I'm interested to see, what he has to say. When he finally does speak to the media or to the public or to the people.
Man.
You know what I mean?
R.I.P. Devin Spacey, Young Cheese.
Yeah.
25 years old.
25 years
gone
old.
far too soon.
That's crazy.
Didn't get to even really do nothing yet.
Right. Young man just starting his career. Speaking of these type of issues, right? Ebro was doing the Rap Life thing for iTunes. Yeah. And he mentioned this whole thing with Drake and what's his name? What's his name, Savvy?
Drake and Childish Gambino.
Childish Gambino.
Donald Glover.
Yeah, Donald Glover. Childish Gambino. This is little beef going on between them two, and Drake had something up on the stage, whatever. Talking about Childish Gambino's song about America a few years ago. And Ebro said, it's funny that Drake is saying what he's saying because he's never shown up or spoke out for black issues. Right? I want to listen to Ebro, and then I want to get your thoughts on it. All right? So let's take a listen to it right here.
I don't know how I feel about Drake, who has never shown up. And y'all know I'm the biggest Drake fan on this show. Drake has never shown up to have anything to say about anything going on in society with black folks or anything other than himself. So now you having an issue. I get you having an issue with Childish Gambino if what you're saying is fact. But fam, the song was supposed to be a joke diss. It didn't actually happen. Mm-hmm. So why are you in your feelings about it and taking shots at a song?
It was like 5 years late. Like, this song came out, what, 18, 19?
Yeah, but I think the Childish Gambino interview just happened a few months ago, so it's still relevant in that context.
Only because he addressed it right now.
But I don't know, it didn't actually happen. Nothing actually happened.
Right.
Okay, so your thoughts, Savvy. Drake, does he need to show up for black issues?
Does he need to show up for black issues?
Does he need to show up for black issues?
I don't need him to. I don't look to rappers to be the social commentators of societal ills like a lot of people do. A lot of people want rappers to come out and be outspoken, and I feel like that comes out of the fact that we have so few actual champions that's out there fighting for us, because historically they've all been, eliminated and it's discouraged people from doing it. And then we come to idolize people who do things and succeed, but not necessarily idolize the people who speak up on our behalf in these matters. But what I will say is that Ebro is kind of incorrect. And
Okay.
What I'm going to make reference to is back in 2016, Alton Sterling was killed, Philando Castile was killed, but specifically addressing the Alton Sterling shooting, he came out with a letter that he wrote that was basically talking about how he had been fortunate to call this his second home, and that the news of the shooting and the footage was just so disturbing and vile that it shook him up a little bit. And it was one of the most candid things that I had ever seen from him. I remember it happening in the moment, because I remember I was like rattled by that shooting footage as well. And I was kind of reeling from it. And I remember that coming out. I had forgotten it happened up until this issue came to be. But even Drake himself has said in interviews that he doesn't seek to be the guy that comes out and says something like whenever something happens, so that people can see him saying it and then be viewed as like a champion that cares. I think the issue is that there's a perception that he needs to do it through his music. But if that's not part of your artistry and you never really was doing music in that regard, I don't think that it behooves you to start doing it right then. You know, and when you really look at what was going on with that This Is America video, you know, if Drake says that he'd rather do things behind the scenes and have a real impact, you know, I would love to know what some of those things are. But the truth is that Drake is just a rapper. He's just one guy. There's so many systemic failures that happen before we have to look at a guy like Drake to do something or say something about these issues. But then when you look at who he's being compared to, I don't know what Childish Gambino has ever done. I know that he made a very cute little music video one time that went viral, and he couldn't find a shirt after that for like a year to put on. And I don't know that he ever actually did anything or said anything or called anything out. You know what I'm saying? I might be incorrect because I haven't gone and like searched exhaustively about what he may have done, but Drake at least came out and mentioned by name a victim of police brutality. And by virtue of name dropping and mentioning that in that open letter, his visibility brought attention to that issue to fans who probably would not have heard or engaged with that footage and that news story to begin with. So I think it's really just a moot point, and I'm really curious as to what got Ebro so tight about it to the point where he had to discuss it in that manner, because when I look at the both of them, I see two rappers that's ill-equipped to even do anything about any of these issues whatsoever.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess what he was saying is, okay, he understands that them two have whatever they got going on, but you know, why would you attack this song? Right? You know, given what this song was supposed to be about, why would you attack this song? I don't know. I mean,
I'll tell you why I would attack the song, because the guy came out and said it was supposed to be a diss. What are you gonna diss me for?
I mean,
it's kind of a dweeby thing to say. Like, I was gonna diss him, but I didn't. Ooh.
I mean, my thing with Drake, I mean, should first of all, he didn't grow up in America.
Number one.
Right? So you have that. He didn't grow up in America. You know, so his experience is a little different. But me personally, this is me personally, you know, I do always have at least some kind of expectation that someone is gonna be part of the be part of the solution. Let me say that. And I can't say what he's done behind the scenes, so I don't want to say he's not part of the solution.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think when someone comes out and says something like this, what happens next is people are gonna say, well, maybe he don't want to come out and say nothing crazy because he don't want to alienate a large portion of his fan base. Because a large portion of his fan base is undoubtedly white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And would he be afraid that if I come out and really be strong about this issue or that issue, I'm going to alienate some people, so I'm not going to say anything. So I don't want to alienate anybody. Right? I don't know if it's true or not, but you can imagine that's what a lot of people, when something like this comes out, would be thinking about Drake. I'm not going to say it's true, but I'm not going to say it's not true either.
I think it's a valid suspicion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a very valid suspicion to have. I don't know that at this stage in his career what he fears to lose. But
I mean, with the
I
way
just feel like,
way things are today, you know what I'm saying? Like people are quick to try to cancel you.
yeah, it's a very polarized, reactionary climate. But when I think about, like, look at someone like J. Cole, for example. Okay, we have two biracial artists who one grew up in the U.S., one didn't.
Right.
Right. Both of them have probably a large amount of white fans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cole has spoken about these things several times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what have we seen come out of it? Now, let's switch the roles there, right? If Childish Gambino had said, "Oh, that was supposed to be a Cole diss," right? Ebro wouldn't have had an issue with it, because if Cole had reacted that same way that Drake did, because Cole has actually spoken up about some of these things. But in my opinion, that aspect of it has no real issue, because he's not really attacking it because, like, if he would have came out back then and attacked it just because it was a video about something, that would be a valid criticism. But now that you're saying that was originally going to be a diss against me, it makes me wonder about, okay, you started out writing this track against me and wound up just dissing the state of America.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that make you question the?
So, I guess my question would have been
the pureness of the message.
I guess
you know what I'm saying?
I guess my question was gonna be would be, what was the diss? Was the diss that I don't? If I'm Drake, was the diss that I don't stand up for issues? Or
Right.
are you saying I'm part of, what you're rapping about in this song is me?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like
And I'm part of this problem.
The whole "get your money, black man" refrain.
You know what I mean?
Where it's like, oh, despite all of this stuff, you're getting your money.
Yes.
I mean, if that's the angle you was taking, and Antoine 1486, I agree. I appreciate rappers that speak to issues, but the masses do not. I agree with that, and I appreciate those rappers too. But I don't look at the ones that don't and be like, hey, how come you're not saying anything? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that people have a natural inclination to speak up and say things and be outspoken, right. And other people have a natural inclination to just be who they are, stay in their lane, and then maybe they care about things behind the scenes, maybe they don't.
Yeah. Do you think they have a responsibility to do so?
Because
personally, I feel like as black people, and he's biracial, but he's a black person, has a responsibility, to help uplift their people. And I'm not going to say he hasn't, because I don't know what he's done behind the scenes. I feel like, because we have so many people that leave, we were just talking about this race to the bottom. We have so many people that leave up out the hood, they don't look back.
Yeah.
It's bye-bye, I'm gone. I don't care about y'all. I'm not looking back, right? Other cultures is not like that.
That's very true. That's
right?
Very true.
People from Mexico are coming here, and what are they doing? They're sending money back home.
To take
and all
care
these
of
other
people.
cultures are doing that same thing. They come here, they're sending money back home.
Taking care of
right?
their people.
They're like, I feel that we are supposed to have a responsibility to each other. And I know it's hard. It's tough because it is the state of us, our people, where we are. Like, you can quickly get dragged back into stuff. So I know it's difficult, but there are ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are ways. And I'm not trying to knock him. I don't know what he has or has not done. But I do feel as black people, we have a special responsibility to trying to unify and bring our people together, especially when we've achieved something, trying to help somebody else along, because,
if there was like a horrible racial incident happening in Toronto or something, or I don't know what neighborhood Drake is from. I don't know what his childhood was like, how he grew up, whatever. I don't know who he feels he owes anything to.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this though, just by writing that letter and showing that it affected him and that he cares, I think that what's happened is that he has identified that he cares, but maybe he doesn't even know what more he could say that hasn't been said already. You know what I'm saying? Because on the one hand, a lot of rappers have the perspective of like, oh yeah, I mean, I rap and I do this, but this is not the end all be all of who I am and the most important thing that I do. Like a lot of rappers are very activistic in that sense. Like Trey the Truth, for example. Like he was very activistic, you know, standing up for the community, you know, and he just happened to be an MC, and he did the work outside of just the raps to show up and put on for people. I think that what would be worse to me would be a tone deaf disregard for the current climate, like you wasn't reading the room. And that's why I feel like a lot of that that Last Chance album that people didn't like, I feel like that's what happened there, was like a lot of the black community, especially this guy who was, you know, born and raised from Chicago, he's American, you know, came out with this album, the super happy, upbeat album, talking about how great his life is and how awesome and how happy he is in the midst of like a real crisis that was happening at the time. I think that was worse. You know what I'm saying? To go so hard in the other direction as if you don't see what's happening out here, like, and wasn't reading the room. I think that if Drake did something like that, I feel like I'd have more of a critique, but I don't think that people who aren't outspoken to begin with should become outspoken to prove themselves to be outspoken.
Yeah. And you know, now, you know, it's probably tough for him to even come out if he wanted to make a song, if he just felt moved. I want to make a song about this, that, you know, whatever.
If I was to blow up,
it would look like, well, you're just doing it because somebody said something about it. If he did that now, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So now it's too late.
Now it's kind of late.
Anything without looking a certain way. But if I blew up and became a big star in Canada, I spent a lot of time in Canada and was going around, and then some stuff was happening, and people was like, "Hey, why aren't you saying anything?" I would be kind of like, how much do I really know about the social fabric of how things became this way? You know what I'm saying? This guy is far removed from any sort of a down-to-earth existence on here. Even Lil Wayne in the past has said that he hasn't experienced certain things. That bothered me more because Lil Wayne is a black man who grew up in New Orleans and been in the U.S. forever. This is the guy, Hurricane Katrina, Georgia Bush, whatever. And he still said that. So you already see the distance in what the experience is like for people who are the haves and the have-nots. A lot of the time people go around and they get shown the best of what places have to offer. And they have to remind themselves, you know, by watching the news, following the stories on social media, that like, yo, people don't got it sweet out here. And I think it's a position where the only reason that Ebro has a leg to stand on in saying this about him is because of the fact that Gambino did this one video this one time and it went viral. Yeah. What if it didn't go viral?
Yeah, you know.
What if he never did it?
It's a good conversation, you know what I mean? And I think you know, Drake, I'm pretty sure he's not going to come out. Maybe he might say something about it in a song or something like that. You know, we'll see where it goes. we will see where it goes. But Savvy, this turned out to be a longer show than I thought.
Yeah.
We said it was going to be a short one. Turned out
Very
to be
important
an hour.
stuff, though. Very important stuff that
good
we
show,
discussed.
good conversation. And this is, back to the start of us being consistent. Making
Yes,
sure
sir.
we jumping on, I don't know about every night, but 3 or 4 times a week.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Making sure we're
Bringing
getting
the
on
stoop,
it.
bringing the stoop back.
Yes, sir. A lot of stuff to
And
talk
salute
about,
to the
man.
chat. Salute to the chat. Salute to all the supporters, everybody who tuned in live. If you're rocking with it, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe, set your notifications, because sometimes something happens in hip hop and we just gotta jump on the stoop and chop it up.
No doubt.
You know what I mean?
And
The nature of the beast is random.
Yeah, and please leave it in the comment section. We doing this 50 for 50, right? 50 album reviews for 50 years of hip hop. Some albums that you want to see reviewed. You know what I mean? And talk about, break down and talk about. You know what I mean? There gotta be instrumental albums to hip hop too. They can't just be anything. Instrumental to hip hop. Got to be instrumental to hip hop. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Antoine
No
said.
whack recommendations.
No what?
No whack recommendations.
Yeah.
Okay.
They got to be instrumental, man. Antoine said Nas brought y'all back to the studio. Yeah. For real.
Yeah.
Big shout out to him for that.
Yeah.
Bringing the energy back to us.
That's impact right there.
No doubt.
In real time. Comment your thoughts on these topics. I love to engage in the comment section and see how people are reacting to the content, and just stay tuned for more, yo. I appreciate that one.
We appreciate it. Have a good it's Friday, man. Have a great weekend. Oh, it's Saturday now. I gotta be up at 7 o'clock. I got a basketball game, 2 basketball games in the morning.
Oof.
One at 9, one at 10.
Up.
It's gonna take me 45 minutes to get to the gym, so we got to get there at 8:30. So we got to leave at 7:45. I mean, it's I can't even sleep in a little bit. I got to be up early tomorrow. But the games are early. I'm gonna come home and go back to sleep. Then get up and
Send the machine.
take care. You know what I mean? No doubt about it. But ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys. We're about to be up out of here, folks. Peace.